Streaming live from the beautiful city of Hollywood, Florida, USA. This is SoFloRadio.com. ZNation. ZNation. Where consciousness is queen, love really is the answer. And making a difference is on the menu. ZNation. Organic beats and inspiring treats. Get your weekly dose of vitamin Z now. This is ZNation on SoFloRadio.com.
Good day, fellow light beings. Thank you for tuning in. This is Zayna De Gaia, and this is ZNation on SoFloRadio.com. Guess what? We're broadcasting live. We're in Hollywood, Florida, and we're coming at you today. The theme of today is food. So we have a really awesome, special guest today, Naturopathic Doctor Mitchell Kershner. Welcome.
Thank you, Z.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to be here.
That's why I can't hear myself. Okay. So, food. Food is one of my favorite things to talk about, right? Food.
Yes.
I think everybody appreciates food. One of the things I like to talk about when it comes to food, for me, what I've discovered is relationship. Like, we all have a relationship with food. I'm going to assert that most people's relationship with food is a little bit dysfunctional.
Yes.
So today we're gonna address all kinds of stuff in relationship to food, and I wanted to share a little bit about my journey with food. As a child, I remember when I was 5, 6, 7 years old, I used to love family gatherings. I come from a Lebanese background. Our gatherings for birthday parties and celebrations were always, around food, and the food is always so good. So when I was about, I think I would say 6 or 7, I remember being at a party, and I can eat. I would eat like tons of food, and I especially liked sweets, so I would eat donuts and baklavas, and yeah, like I could eat like a half dozen donuts on my own. And
Same.
Yes. And I remember one day when I was about 6, my uncle took me aside and he said, "Zayna, you have to start watching what you eat so that you can get a husband." And I remember that day looking at him and saying to myself, "You don't understand. I don't care about a husband. I just want to eat. What does that have to do with me eating?" So as a 6-year-old, I made the decision that I would become a closet eater. And I started hiding when I would eat so that people would not bother me with their stupid comments about what I was eating. And I became a closet eater. Until this day, I still have those tendencies where I feel weird eating in front of people. And I've had to really observe that for myself and give myself the freedom to just eat when I want, what I want, in front of whoever, and deal with whatever judgments they may have around what I eat, right? But that was my first experience with food, and it became something that I had to hide and I was ashamed of. Later in my teen years, I used to read a lot. My mom would drop me off at the library, and I would spend the whole day sitting in the library. There wasn't internet back then. And that's all I would do is sit at the library. And I started reading books, and I read books about food, and I learned everything about calories and carbohydrates and how everything processes in the body and what's good and what's not. And I would read recipe books after recipe books after recipe books. And I was always a little bit chubby growing up, or when I look back now, I actually was healthy. But in my own mind, I was chubby. And when I turned 16, I turned everything off. And I wanted to be skinny so badly that I stopped eating everything. And I got skinny pretty quick. I lost about 60 pounds in about 3 months, stopped having my period, and started an even unhealthier relationship to food. So for years, through my teens and my mid-20s, I was obsessed with counting calories, making myself feel guilty and bad if, I ate something that was out of my, what was good. And I was pretty miserable. I looked good. I was thin, and some would say, I looked good because I looked thin, but that's all relative, right? And then one day I discovered yoga. And when I entered the yoga room, I actually started doing hot yoga. And it's very ironic because hot yoga is one of these yoga types that has mirrors all over the room. Not all yoga has mirrors in the room, but particularly with hot yoga, we'll boast that the mirrors are needed so that we can check our alignment. However, for me, it became an obsession just looking at myself in the mirror and judging myself while I was doing yoga. And with time, what the yogic lifestyle really did for me is it transformed how I saw my body. And one day I remember practicing and thinking to myself, wow, I look beautiful. And I was in this pose, it was a dancer pose. And it's like, I was so proud of myself and so impressed that I was holding this pose. And in that moment, I got like, wow, for the first time in my life, I'm content with where my body is. I can look at myself and not judge myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal. And then I started learning more about eating not to be skinny. So I went through phases where I started eating to be healthy, right? Because I had become unhealthy from the ways I was eating that were making me skinny. So though I looked healthy, I was not healthy at all. And then when I started eating for health, I started discovering a different way of eating. I actually got rid of my scale and I stopped counting calories. I learned how to read the labels on food and started really paying attention to what foods were actually good for my body. And I actually started eating good fats instead of avoiding fats. Because, there was the whole fad around fat-free, and then it was sugar-free, and then it was the Atkins diet. And I followed all of those. And even down to, after I got into healthy eating, here's the thing why I like to talk about relationship with food, because what I later discovered is I read this book called Skinny Bitch. Have you read that book?
Sitting on the shelf.
Yeah. I really like that book. It's, the title itself makes you go, what is this book about? And that's the intention, is that people who care about being skinny bitches pick up that book and it will make a difference, because it's not about being skinny. So that book actually, it really encourages veganism. That's the main thing of the book. So after reading that book, I decided to become vegan, and I lived a vegan lifestyle for a couple of years. And inside of those 2 years, I also discovered the raw diet. So I started eating raw, and I was on the raw wagon for a year. And I loved eating raw because for my type, it really worked. It really helped me to feel more energetic, and it helped me to get out of my lethargy. If we talk about Ayurveda, which is the study of life from the Hindu tradition, they talk about 3 types of body types. And I'm more of the Kapha type, which is usually heavier set people, lazier, more lethargic. So a raw food kind of diet for somebody who's more kapha is actually appropriate and suitable. So I really enjoyed how I felt. I enjoyed how I looked. I also really enjoyed having my hands in the food, because if you're going to do a raw food lifestyle, then you want to get that it's going to be a lot of food preparation, and it's going to be a lot of you having your hands in the food, which to me was such a joy to discover, making fresh foods, and I would make them in big quantities, and I always had food in the fridge. So I had a really amazing lifestyle as a raw foodist.
You brought up a point earlier that I wanted to just stress.
Yeah.
When I remember sitting in my nutrition class at school, we, as a naturopathic doctor, we have 145 hours of clinical nutrition. It's very equivalent to that of a nutritionist.
Yeah.
Except we go into it more from the perspective of also as a doctor, and how we would be using food as a medicine. But I remember my nutrition instructor, and this woman was kick butt. She taught us 3 different courses: nutrition, biochemistry, and exercise physiology. She used to walk in the room going, "If you have a question, only ask on the subject I'm talking about today. Don't ask me other questions. But one thing she once said to us, which has never left my mind, was when you're eating, how you approach that food with what mindset will affect how your body digests and metabolizes the food. If you eat with guilt, your body's going to metabolize it a lot different than if you eat it with joy. Mm-hmm. And what we find, and I have seen this with patients over the years, is that when they eat with joy, they also don't need to eat as much. One of the other elements that she brought up to our attention is that we have gotten to a culture where we eat on the run. We're eating so fast. Did you know that there's literally a little signal that transfers from our mouth to our stomach to our brain? It's like this little pathway that the food's in the mouth telling the stomach food's on its way. The stomach's telling the brain food's coming. When it gets there, if we eat slow enough, when the stomach has reached a certain capacity, it tells the brain, hey, we're good. Stop being hungry. Stop eating. But we eat so fast that we bypass the signal. And that's why most people overeat. Yeah. If they just slowed down, they would find, wow, I just don't need as much. And especially if they leave it in their mouth a little longer. Because the concept is you taste food in the mouth, not in the stomach. Once it passes, once you've swallowed, you're not tasting it anymore. And so the brain is really mostly interested in two things. One, am I tasting this? Am I getting joy and pleasure out of this? Two is, am I fueling my body? If we accomplish those two things, we just need to eat less. I mean, look at some of the serving sizes today. When you go out to a restaurant, I mean, literally, there are times where I'm looking at a plate of food, not on my table, on somebody else. I'm looking over and I'm going, that's enough food for 3 people.
Yep.
And yet I look over later and the person's finished the whole plate by themselves and then they're ordering dessert. It's not a question of, Time magazine did an article about 10 years ago looking at why we're gaining weight as a society. We can go into more later. But one of the reasons is that they're estimating that we're consuming between 200 and 400 extra calories per day. Just because of the size of the plate.
Yeah.
So one of the philosophies for people to think about is get smaller plates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finish what's on your plate, because I don't know about you, but I was raised with finish what's on your plate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, if you have a big plate, you're going to finish a big plate of food. If you have a smaller plate, and I tell this to my patients or clients, I said, if you're done with the small plate and you're still hungry, go back for a second. But most of the time, they finish the small plate and they sit back for a few minutes and they go, yeah, I really don't need any more.
Yeah. It's a lot of old ideas that have been passed down to us through our parents and through marketing and fake research. One of the things that I got when I knew that things were off, even though I was, eating a very clean diet and I was on the cutting edge of what I thought was like the best of the best. I'll tell you, when I sat down one day and I had steamed broccoli and brown rice and I felt guilt because it wasn't raw, I knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
Because I got like, there's nothing that I can eat that would be more damaging to my body than the guilt that I put after what it is I choose to eat.
Yeah.
And that's when I got, like, it doesn't matter what kind of diet I choose. It's the context in which I eat, it's the relationship I have with the food. Exactly. And that's when I made a shift. That's when I stopped being 100% raw. That's when I got there was something off, and I started studying even deeper into the world of nutrition, and I learned about healing foods, and I learned about really tuning in to what your body wants. And when people ask me if I'm a vegetarian or if I'm a vegan, I always say the same thing is, please don't label me.
I'm just a healthy eater. I'm just a conscious eater.
Yes.
That's really where it's
That's
at.
what it is. I label myself, if I'm going to label anything, I'm a conscious eater. Where is this food from? Where are these eggs from?
Yes.
Where did this come from? Do you know where your food came from? Let me taste this. Let me try this and see how my body feels before I determine it's good for me. Just because it's good for you or just because that worked for that person,
Right.
it won't mean it's going to work for me. So I actually And, part of my, I have a book called Thank You for HPV, and it's a protocol for how to reverse symptoms of this virus. And, one of the, there's chapter, of course, healing is holistic, right? But one of the big parts, my biggest chapter is about food and what we intake. And though this is a protocol that reversed HPV for me, it's my protocol.
Yes.
And I think it's important for people to get that because we've been trained. Here's a diet. It's working for people. Look, everybody got results. Jump on the bandwagon.
Yes, exactly.
And then, if I always like to, when people say I'm on a diet, point out the first 3 letters of diet is DIE. So maybe choose something else.
Yeah.
And diets are so, 2012.
Well, that brings us to one of the things that I've come to realize over my almost 30 years of being in the field is that there is, in my opinion, there is one perfect diet on the planet. Now, go ahead, ask me which it is.
What's the perfect diet, Mitchell?
It's mine.
Yeah.
Yes.
But when I say mine, what I'm talking about is Mother Nature and God, whatever your belief is. Everything was designed and laid out perfectly. There is a reason that certain foods are naturally available in the summer. There's a reason that there are certain foods naturally available in the fall and the winter. And there's all of the occurrence of what they call the circadian rhythms and the biorhythms of our body are tuned into that. So when somebody says to me, do you eat raw? I said, yeah, I tend to eat more raw in the summer.
Yeah.
When my body does not want to be cooking food, it's got all the live enzymes that raw provides. And like you said earlier, one of the things that's really important is more important than is it raw or is it cooked is the source. Is it organic? And even more important today, and I really wanted to ring this home, is it genetically modified? We are literally living biochemistry laboratory rats. They are testing these foods on us. They have not been around long enough to really determine an outcome of health, especially on children with their developing systems. Their immune systems are not mature until they're in their mid-latter teens. So if you're ingesting these kind of foods that are genetically modified, what we're now finding in the research is that what we used to think was your genes are off and that's why you're predisposed to certain diseases. What we now know is that diet and lifestyle and environment have an effect on your genetics more than just what was handed down from generation to generation.
Yeah.
So there's diabetes in my family on both sides. Does that mean that I have to get it? No. That means I am predisposed, but you know what turns that light switch on? My diet and lifestyle.
Absolutely.
So if I sit around and I'm sedentary and I'm munching on junk food while I'm watching TV or sitting on the computer, yeah, it's pretty likely I'm going to wind up with diabetes, as opposed to cancer or heart disease and things like that. They have just recently released a report somewhere in the last few years that genetics, they now realize that genetics plays a much smaller role in disease than we once thought. It was easy to blame it. Oh, well, I've got bad genes.
In my family, yeah, we have obesity in my family. It's here's the reality check is most humans right now have seeds for cancer, for all kind of illness.
Let me
and
correct
if
that.
The soil is fertile.
All humans have the seed for cancer.
Yeah.
We all do.
And it's like if I put a seed on this table here and I don't put any soil, I don't give it any sun, and I don't give it any water, what will happen to that seed? Nothing.
Nothing.
Well, when I discovered healing foods, I took a certification as a food healing coach, and I learned about, I can actually go to the grocery store and I can buy my prescription from there. I can self-prescribe, and I just want to share some things on my grocery list that some people may not realize is medicine, and medicine that I've used to reverse things in my own body. So some things I have on my grocery list that are just a weekly purchase is avocados. Now, I know there's like, Mitchell, you're saying there's different seasons for everything. So it's like when I lived in Canada, I just could not eat raw food for the life of me. Couldn't. And it was hard to eat avocados too because they're a very tropical food.
And do you know, there's a reason that we have a summer squash and a winter squash. There's a reason that watermelon is really grown and harvested in the summer. When you look at some of these foods, the greens, they're at their vibrance. I mean, if you eat a peach today, right now in the middle of the summer, and you wait 2 months and try to find a good tasting peach, you're going to have to find it that it's coming from another country, which means there's a whole long list of why that's not a great thing.
Yeah.
But the peaches today, I mean, literally, you sit down and without guilt, you can eat 2 or 3 or 6 or 10. I mean, we're talking, maybe 150 calories, but it is just pure delight. I mean, your body just literally does the happy dance.
Yeah, it wants it. It's ready for it.
Like the avocados, people have got to stop thinking fat is bad.
Yeah.
Without quality fat, first of all, our brains are not happy. Our nervous systems are not happy, and eventually our immune systems are not happy if we don't get quality fats. Now, there's a big difference between those two, which I'll talk about later.
Okay, good. So these are everyday
staples.
foods that I get from the grocery store that for me are medicine. So avocado has healthy fats. It also has something called glutathione, and glutathione is amazing. It helps to boost the function of the liver, and most people don't realize avocado has glutathione and asparagus has glutathione. So I always buy those two, and I just prepare stuff with asparagus and avocado. Another one is coconut oil. I only use coconut oil to cook. I use coconut oil to moisturize. I use coconut oil as a lubricant. I use coconut oil to remove my makeup. I use coconut oil to cook. I use coconut oil in my smoothies. I do oil pulling with the coconut oil. So coconut oil is very versatile. I also have on my grocery list greens. So some potent greens are kale, chard, watercress, spinach, all of which you can throw into a smoothie and make a green smoothie. Few other grocery items: garlic, natural antibiotic, especially when eaten raw. Ginger, also natural anti-inflammation. And then finally, the last one on my list is aloe. I add aloe to my smoothies. Aloe is also the magical ingredient that helped to reverse the warts when I was dealing with HPV. So just, basic foods we find at the grocery store. And I remember that one time when I was at the grocery store checking out, and I really got that the bill that I just paid was my medical insurance. And that was the equivalent of like what some people may go and buy, like prescriptions. What I had there was nature's medicine.
Yes.
Created for us to thrive.
They say, as you've heard, I'm sure many people have heard, the father of medicine, Hippocrates, who said it best a couple hundred years ago. Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food. Mm-hmm. Now, what did he mean by this? Well, back then, even when he didn't know the science behind it, garlic, for example, as you said, is an antibiotic. Do you know what an anticoagulant is?
No.
When one of the problems with creating blood clots in the body is blood cells, little red blood cells, will accumulate and they form a clot. And this happens all day long throughout our body. It's natural, except when we have an injury and then it wants to specify the area to take care of the injury. But clots are being formed all day long. What things like garlic do is they help prevent them from staying clogged or staying a clot. Well, when the clot forms, it's supposed to then be broken up unless it's needed as a clot. The problem with our society is that we're forming these clots and we're so sedentary and we're not consuming the medicine like garlic and ginger. And these clots are staying formed, and then they lodge in a very small vessel someplace, which could be the brain, leading to stroke, could be somewhere in a small artery down in the lower leg, leading to a clot in the lower leg, cutting off circulation. It just goes on from that. So things like garlic, when Hippocrates said, let food be your medicine, this is what he was talking about. That avocado is not just good, healthy fat. Like you said, glutathione is absolutely vital to us being able to break down the toxins that we're exposed to every day of our lives living in society.
Yeah.
So glutathione is one of those nutrients that you can easily get from food, and you don't need to get it from a bottle.
Yeah. And yeah, I know I've seen glutathione on the bottle. You lose everything else, like that nature brought us. And I think one thing that we have such a advantage of right now. Like when I was younger, like I said, I would go to the library to read all these recipe books. Now you can say, you know, like what can I make with avocado? What can I make with garlic? What can I make with asparagus? Just Google that and, you know, start to like create your own recipes. You know what I love to do? I love to create like these recipes of my, you know, the foods that I love, my comfort foods. Like I make mac and cheese, you know, in a healthy way. I take a lot of my Lebanese recipes and I make them healthy. I just made some grape leaves the other day. I posted a picture. It was my first time making them, but I made them with quinoa and they were delicious. But I also I do have recipes at ZNationRadio.com, so you guys can check some out there. You know, healthy ways to take in avocado, like you can make a key lime pie with avocado. It's delicious, and you can freeze it and keep it in your freezer.
Have you ever done green goddess dressing with avocado?
No.
Ooh.
Or when was the last time you ate chocolate pudding?
I do make chocolate pudding with avocado.
Now, I have done that
Yes.
to people, and I make a ganache.
Yeah.
You know what a ganache
Yeah.
is? Well, for those who don't, it's literally chocolate, and usually it's made with cream.
Yeah.
But I have found that coconut cream works just as
Yes.
well. So I mix a good quality chocolate with the coconut cream.
Yeah.
Let it kind of thicken a little bit. And just to give it that consistency, I just blend in an avocado. And nobody to date has been able to tell me what the secret ingredient is.
The avocado, yeah.
Yes.
Especially right now in Florida, it's avocado season. So you can make like key lime pies, you can make chocolate puddings, you can freeze them and just take them out and let them thaw. And it's amazing. It's this delicious, sweet cake and it's avocado. I also make I make a pesto, but I make it with a lot more garlic than you usually would. And that's like anti-flu, anti-everything. You have that every morning on a little bit of Ezekiel bread or whatever toast that you use. I recommend Ezekiel, even though it does have a little bit of gluten. I find all the gluten-free stuff on the market is really crap.
It is.
Yeah.
If you look at the
Doesn't taste
ingredients,
great.
yeah, but they taste bad, but there's also absolutely no nutrition. So
Yeah, you know, you brought up a point that I really would like people to understand. When they say, well, I don't know if eating this way is worth the extra money and, you know, it costs more. And okay, let me explain something to you. I'm working with a client right now who has a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old.
yeah.
Prior to 6 months ago, when they would get sick, as kids will, it would last days. I was speaking with her last evening, and she said, yeah, Jason was coming down with something, and, you know, I did this with the diet. It didn't have to do much with the diet. We've been changing it over the last 4 months. Did this with the diet, tweaked it just a little, put on some essential oil, and by the end of the day, he was better.
Wow.
Now, ordinarily, she knows her son very well, that would have lasted days. He would not have been feeling well. He would have been lethargic and crampy and crabby and just moody and everything. And he said, because of what I'm doing, the dietary influences, I can see the difference with both my children. In fact, the 5-year-old daughter walks in the kitchen and says, Mommy, can you put kale in my smoothie?
Oh my
I
God.
mean, you know, this is the change. And when people say, well, my kids won't eat this, and I tell them, you know what, it takes a little bit of time to make the taste transition. And if they don't have the junk food around, trust me, they'll eat it.
Yeah.
So one of the ways to really ascertain whether or not what you're doing is working for you are what we call symptoms. Do you know what a symptom is? It's the body's way of communicating physically. Something's off, a headache, bloated, not feeling well, mood swings, hot flashes. These are symptoms.
Thank God for symptoms.
That's right. They tell us they're like a warning sign. They're saying something's not right. I'm trying to wake you up to say if you make some changes, we can correct this. I lead a cleanse, a seasonal cleanse. And I've worked with a number of people in the area. I'm just getting it restarted around here. I used to live in northern New Mexico, and that's where I really started it. And I've worked with this one gentleman comes to mind, and there's many of these stories. When we started in April, he had blood sugar was out of whack. He was taking blood sugar medication. His blood pressure was out of whack to the point where he was now on medication for that. He's 57 years old. Under some stress, he'd put on extra weight, came back to help take care of his 90-year-old mother, and just the stress of everything. So we started in April, put him on a good, clean diet. He lost about 10 pounds within 2 weeks, and they're healthy weight because this is not starvation. So he lost the weight, And all of a sudden, he realized his blood sugar levels were normal. So we got him off the blood sugar medication. Now, again, I don't tell people I can do this. We let your body tell you. Then we just finished another cleanse, and the summer cleanse, which focuses on summer foods. And all of a sudden, after months of having blood pressure at 150 over 105 with medication, he called me up and he goes, "Hey, doc, you're not going to believe this." And I said, "Yeah, I probably will, but try me." He goes, "My blood pressure for the last 3 mornings has been 118 over 81.
Wow.
Before medication." And that is just diet, a little weight loss, a little more activity, and some stress relieving. That's what Hippocrates said, "Let food be thy medicine."
So we're gonna get more into how to do this, and Mitchell will talk to us more about his expertise really in staying healthy for like kids, for teenagers, and for adults. So we'll be back after little messages from our sponsors right here at SoFloRadio.com.
Get hydrated, stretch, and take a deep breath. ZNation will be right back.
Add a twist of yoga.
Yoga Twist with Julie.
A great way to integrate yoga, meditation, and lots of fun.
Promote family bonding. Help with flexibility and exercise. I teach grown-ups too.
Join Julie for beginner and gentle adult classes.
Book a group, family, or one-on-one session now. Email me, yogatwistjulie@gmail.com.
Follow Yoga Twist Julie on Instagram and like Yoga Twist on Facebook for great family lifestyle tips and Yoga Twist events.
Hi, this is Zayna De Gaia, and I'd love to share with you about my good friend Nicole of Legit Fitness in-home training and yoga. She's a certified yoga teacher, and she's an amazing and experienced trainer that can design a program to fit your specific needs and goals. She's so cool. She's super committed to making fitness and health fun and accessible for everyone. Plus, your first week is free as a new client. Here's how you set up your first session. Either call 305-335-5590 or visit www.getlegitfit.com. GETLEGITFIT. Getlegitfit.com. 305-335-5590. Do it now!
Now back to ZNation, your weekly dose of inspiration on SoFloRadio.com.
About food.
I don't spit ill, I eat well. Juice and greens daily, that's the deal. You might find me chewing on some dill. You never find me swallowing no pills.
Hell
and that's
no.
real. Wake up in the morning, superfood smoothie. Some food got my energy feeling good. See, I used to eat meat, but you know that that's the old me. Now I stay connected to this earth like I'm an old tree. Rishi Goji, come on man, you know me. Push those herbs to calm your nerves like I'm an OG. Come see me, I stopped watching TV. Got my education on YouTube University. Shout out to all my people who eatin' all organic. Shout out to all my yogis who breathe slow and don't panic. Shout out to urban farmers on my vertical gardeners. Shout out to all my people who eatin' all in season, cause we know the reason. Keep on keeping it real. I know my health is wealth, I'll keep stacking that kale. You got some spleen pain, it's just a cheap thing. We got them yin and yang herbs out the yin yang. You got some spleen pain, it's just a cheap thing. We got them yin and yang herbs out the yin yang. You think that it's natural to get sick chewing on a breadstick? Listen quick and get up on this health tip. Your body is more important than the clothes you wear. Focus on your mind more than what goes in your hair. Humanity got lost in vanity, but if you eat beautiful foods, then beauty comes naturally. Stop eating goods manufactured in a factory, processed to the point devoid of all vitality. You're counting calories while they grow their salaries from GMO celery that's giving people allergies. That's not a metaphor or an analogy. You are what you eat, don't sleep, that's a reality. You reap what you sow, you're more than you know. Look around at the ground, it's profound how the flowers grow. You reap what you sow, you're more than you know. Look around at the ground, it's profound how the flowers grow. You got some spleen pain, it's just a cheap thing. We got them yin and yang herbs out the yin yang. You got some spleen pain, it's just a cheap thing. We We got them yin and yang herbs out the yin yang. You got some spleen pain, it's just a cheap thing. We got them yin and yang herbs out the yin yang. You got some spleen pain, it's just a cheap thing. We got them yin and yang herbs out the yin yang.
Listen carefully.
Western medicine's a
Few hundred years old. What did we do before when someone got the cold?
Before drugs were bought and sold and lies were heard and told. You're a
Intuitive
being. Heal
being.
your eyes and cure the mold. What happened to the days when real knowledge got respect? Not through college and a check, but from reflecting what connects. I'm perplexed. Listen to the sound and read the text. Here's the answer.
Can you cure cancer? Yes, your health is not a mystery. It just became an industry.
Do some research on the Gerson therapy.
I get so she's been listening to this song a lot.
Fasting cures disease and people need to stop dying for no reason. If your situation is chronic, get a colonic. Bubonic fast for a couple of weeks and get some Taoist tonics on it. You'll go from being catatonic to running around like you're supersonic. People will be like, that dude's on it. You got some spleen pain, it's just a cheap thing. We got them yin and yang herbs.
Wow.
Yin yang.
Have you heard this song before?
No.
You could have written it.
Right now, I've got the chills going, not just up and down my spine. My large toe is wiggling.
Isn't it great?
Wow.
I know. I don't know who this guy is. He's Andrew McFarlane.
Yeah.
But the video, when you go home, put it in and watch the video too. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And it really is true. If you look at modern medicine, what we call modern medicine, it is less than 200 years old. How have we survived for almost 3 million years as Homo sapiens without it? I would say very well. I think it's time that we kind of go back. You ever seen, there's a little chart that I have. It talks about in the year 2000 BC, the people at that time said, here, eat this root, it's good for you. And as you progress through the ages, each couple few hundred years, it says, here, take this snake oil, it's good for you. Here, I think it was like early 1900s, it said, here, take this pill, it's good for you. And it's finally come back around where now today what it says is, here, eat this root, it's good for you.
Yes.
It's full cycle, because what we don't, and I used to work pretty close with a pharmacist, and he was what I call one of the good guys. What we found was that patients were coming into my office with lists of medications. I mean, I had this one woman, God bless her, 74, 14 different medications.
Wow.
And that was because she was going to different doctors, and she'd go tell this doctor what was going on, and he'd give her something, and she'd go tell this doctor what was going on, and she'd give her something. By the time she came to me, 14, and that was not that uncommon. Now, 14 is a lot. But they say in America, the average consumer, 65 and over, is on somewhere around 6 to 7 different medications. And like I was just telling you with this friend of mine, client of mine, since April, we're off blood pressure and blood sugar, all with diet and a little bit of exercise. I mean, he's not running marathons. He's working, he's moving his body, and he's not eating KFC.
Wow. So Mitchell, you're a naturopathic doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You're an author of 2 books, and I'd love to hear about your projects with that. And you're an international speaker, really educating people about this really, really important stuff. Like, that really it's our birthright, but people have forgotten and we've been miseducated.
Yeah. Before I launch into that, I'm going to take 1 minute because I think you have what I consider to be probably a more intelligent audience of listeners, and it's absolutely important that you understand this. It is not the pharmaceutical industry or the doctors or the medical industry that is leading us down this road. You know who it is? It's us.
Yep.
When we go to the doctor and we keep saying, give me something to treat this cold, it's because we're not eating well. We're not eating the garlic. We're not eating the vegetables and all these things.
Yes. So
the doctor says, well, if I don't give you this antibiotic, somebody else will. So they're going to, because they've got their bills to pay.
Mm-hmm.
When they, as a doctor, would like to order a certain test or a diagnostic, they can't because their hands are tied. And they're being tied by insurance companies. And the insurance companies, believe it or not, are actually being told what to do by the pharmaceutical industry. But guess who tells the pharmaceutical industry what to do? We do, the people. We buy their product, they stay in business. We pay an arm and a leg for their product. They stay in better business. If we stop buying so many of their products, they would come to terms with some humility and get back to doing medicine the way it was designed, which was to help people.
Wouldn't you say also, like, doctors are not educated in nutrition? How many hours do they get? Like 2?
None are required.
Right.
What?
Yeah, where a naturopathic doctor, how many hours do you get?
145.
Versus I'm going to say a real doctor. That's such an old brain pattern. But versus a doctor, an MD versus an ND, 0.
I'll differentiate for
Yes,
terminology's
please.
sake. Allopathic doctor is our Western doctor. Naturopathic is a more holistic. Allopathic. And if you look up the term allopath, what it means is that they're usually giving something to shift a symptom.
Yes.
In other words, an aspirin does not take away the headache. It just blocks the pain signal so that you don't think you've got a headache anymore. But the cause of the headache is still there, whether it's dehydration, neck tension, or stress. The cause is still there, but you're not feeling it because the aspirin is interfering with the signal to your brain. Yeah. That's an allopath. They give you a muscle relaxant. Doesn't always necessarily relax the muscle, but what it does is interrupt the signal. So that's what an allopathic doctor is. And trust me when I tell you, there's a time and a place that we're glad we have them.
Absolutely.
And I will tell you that in this country, we have some of the best diagnostics in the world. In other words, figuring out what's going on is a really important factor in determining a good treatment plan. When you don't know what's going on, you can throw the book at somebody, but it doesn't mean it's going to help. So learning, figuring out, doing the tests, doing the x-rays, the blood studies and all that, but how we approach it and how we look at it. So I have a book sitting on my shelf. It's called Biochemical Individuality.
Oh, yes.
Every person is different. Every biochemistry is different. So treating the same people with the same medications is where we're going wrong. It's not to say that antibiotics are not life-saving, but you don't need an antibiotic for a common little cold, especially if it's a viral cold. All right, that's where learning what the difference is. If I have a viral cold, but I take an antibiotic, all I'm doing is messing up the gut flora. I am literally throwing things out of balance, and that could take years to recover from. If you just ate some garlic in some soup, I mean, we all know chicken soup, right? You eat this Jewish penicillin, which is not just Jewish, by the way. It's anyone can use it, right? But you use this as the treatment. The body will take care of the virus. You haven't thrown off the antibiotic, the probiotics, the good bacteria in your gut, and your body recovers in a few days. Yeah. But not if you keep taking antibiotic after antibiotic after antibiotic, because now the antibiotics are not working that well. Yeah. So doses are having to go higher. They're having to ask people to take them longer. They're trying to come up with shorter versions, but they're making them way more powerful. So you can see the spiral effect here.
So how do you work with people who want that instant? Because that's the thing, is like the Western medicine gives this instant gratification, relieves the symptoms, right? And the natural stuff is not always so quick. So how do you work with people with really shifting the way they think about healing?
That's the key. It's the mindset.
Yeah.
Do you know why, with all the technology that we have not even come close to finding a cure for the common cold? Do you know what? It's a simple virus. It's called the rhinovirus. Do you know why? Here's my opinion, right? My opinion states that the common cold is literally nature's way of saying you need a day off, and I'm going to give you a reason. Yep. You can't go to work because you'll make other people sick, so just take the day off. And it doesn't mean I'm going to make you uncomfortable enough that you're not going to want to lie in bed with a computer in your lap and the phone in your head and the TV going and the radio on. And no. The whole idea is a day off. Give your body a break. Just rest, relax, eat lightly, soup broth, things like that. Go very simple on the liquids and just take a break.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, we are not machines. Where did we go from thinking we were human beings? We should now really be calling ourselves human doings, because we're always doing something. I mean, you ever walk down the street or drive down the street today, you rarely see anybody sitting at a stoplight that's not on their phone. We're always doing something. Whatever happened to, for those who couldn't see, before we started the show, we all sat in a moment of just quiet meditation, to just get back to that inner reflective self. So when you ask, how do we come back to a better state of health? It's changing your mindset. It's like eating without guilt. It's like sitting down to eat instead of, sitting, running. They say that if you eat on the run, it doesn't matter what you're eating, you're not digesting it as well as that if you sat and ate and quietly, calmly, sitting around with friends, you don't eat as much. There's more joy in it. There's a celebration. Do you realize that it wasn't long ago? My dad was once telling me in his day, 60 years ago, that he had to actually run through a field to steal potatoes so that his family could eat one night. That's where we came from not that long ago. So people, when you're sitting down to that smaller plate of food, take a moment to just celebrate that you have a plate of food in front of you.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's a better quality, right? But just take a moment, say a prayer. Think about all the people that were responsible for that food getting to your plate. Did you have to go out and pick it? Did you grow it? Did you do any of that stuff? No. So be thankful. Take a moment. That's how we take the mindset. And take a day off when you're not feeling well. You know, I was once introduced to the concept called wellness day off. Why just wait for a sick day to take a day off? Why not take it when you feel good, right? And then you come back to work, and you got more energy, and you got more vitality, and you're getting more production done. Well, that's one of the reasons I wrote one of the books, which is Staying Healthy While at Your Computer.
Yes, I want to hear about this book. So this is on Amazon?
It is now available on Amazon as an MP3 download.
Cool.
Staying Healthy While at Your Computer.
Okay, that speaks to a lot of people.
Yes. In recent years, as most people can attest to, we are spending more and more time at our computer. They're not designed, and I don't think they were very well designed for us to be spending that much time there. That's why they came out with what they call ergonomics. Like an ergonomic keyboard is designed with a curve in it that naturally fits our wrists so that our wrists sit natural. When you put your wrist on a keyboard today that's a straight across, you're having to bend your wrists out. And what you're doing over time is you're putting more pressure on what people call the carpal tunnel, those nerves that run through the wrist canal. And by doing that for hour after hour after hour and typing and hours of typing and just sitting in this position, the wrist starts to get a little inflamed, the ligaments and everything in there. And if you keep doing this for day after day after day, at some point, if you're vulnerable, you're going to cause inflammation, which leads to some kind of an injury.
Yeah.
Carpal tunnel, it's avoidable. So how do we avoid it? By taking regular breaks. By doing things like stretching, like, you know, taking your arm in front of you and pulling the fingers back gently. You don't need to, you know, we're not going for the Olympics here, right? But just stretching out those wrists and breathing oxygen. Stretch the wrist, stretch the fingers. I mean, you don't even have to leave your desk. Just sit there and stretch. That's one way to cut down on carpal tunnel. They did a study recently looking at 20-year-olds recently out of college. And what they found was as soon as they got into the computer business and they were in the field someplace, they're putting in 10, 12, 14-hour days. It wasn't but somewhere between 6 and 9 months before many of them started to complain of what we call computer-related injuries. Eye strain, neck and shoulder problems, headaches because of that, even the low back and the lumbar region. They were having poor circulation. These are 20-year-olds.
Wow.
Right? Now, if you can imagine, so you say, well, I don't know how I get through the day without these injuries. Well, you don't. They're just accumulating. And the day's going to come when your eyes are going to just not work very well. I'm going to give you one of the tips out of the book.
Please.
It's called the 20-20-20 rule. Every 20 minutes of working at a computer with the monitor, which should be positioned properly, and we talk a little bit more about that in the book, but every 20 minutes, you stop, push away, look at something at least 20 feet away, and focus on it for 20 seconds. So it's 20 minutes, looking at something 20 feet away, and focusing on it for 20 seconds. And what this does is allows your neck muscles to relax, allows the eyes to relax, and allows vision to come back into where it's supposed to be. Because when you take an object, and the closer that object gets to our face, like a monitor, which is less than 2 feet away from our face, and we're staring at these little pixels for hours, the eye strain then causes our shoulders to start rising. And, you know, before long, you're kind of sitting there and it looks like you're the hunchback, you know, and your hands are crumped up and your fingers are all sore. And at the end of the day, you know, 8 hours later, you're not in good shape. And people say, I don't know why I have a headache. And, well, I mean, there's many reasons, which we go more into in the book. But 20-20-20 rule.
I love that. I'm going to set a little alarm on my phone.
You know, for those who want a sticky note. Just put it on your computer or put it someplace very visible every 20 minutes. I mean, we're talking 30 seconds here, folks.
Yeah. Makes a big difference.
Huge.
Awesome. Okay. And then you have another series of book coming out called Staying Healthy.
Yes.
Okay, so that you have a series for children, for teens.
It's called The Healthy Way.
I love it.
It'll be a series, and what that does is it takes recipes like we were talking about earlier, gearing them, because what we have seen, Zayna, is, as you know, the rates of obesity and diabetes with our children are now escalating to a point where, at the rate we're going, they're predicting 50% of our kids are going to be obese or diabetic by the year 2050. That's 1 out of every 2 children. Right now, it's a little bit more than 1 out of every 3. You imagine you're looking around and see 1 out of every 3 kids are obese, on their way to becoming diabetic. Now, just think about this long term. By the time they're in their 20s or 30s, they're going to have some serious health issues. Whether it's kidneys are going to start not functioning well, eyes are going to have trouble because of the blood sugars that are accumulating. It could lead to potential for amputation because of gangrene set in because of the sugar buildup and the body can't handle it anymore. It's the junk food and the low activity. So the first book that'll come out in the series, called The Healthy Way, is The Healthy Way for Kids.
Yes.
So recipes that even kids can get in the kitchen and have fun doing. I have one of my...
Give us an example of a recipe for kids.
Kale salad.
Yeah.
You know, get a kid to get in there and start tearing up the kale. They can have fun, and kale can take it. And you throw in a couple of raisins or a couple of currants. You mix in with a little bit of lemon juice and some lemon zest.
Yeah.
And they're having a blast, and they're more inclined to eat it.
Yeah.
One of my friends and her 3.5-year-old made chocolate almond date balls. So almonds and roasted walnuts and dates and raisins and currants with some organic cocoa powder, and you mix it all together, and then you just start forming little balls.
Oh, wow.
And it's done. It's raw. It's easy to make,
Yeah.
and kids love it. You talk about 2 or 3 of those for a dessert rather than that cake or those cookies.
Yes.
And the kid is satisfied, and they know that they made it. So
They love being in the kitchen. They do. Kids love making food once you get them entertained like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then
other books out of the series,
Yes.
The Healthy Way, we're going to then start writing one, The Healthy Way for Teens.
Yes.
Because teens, when they're starting to go through hormonal changes, if they're not eating correctly, that can really cause a lot of health issues. It's unnecessary. And then we're going to look at The Healthy Way for Pregnancy.
Wow. Cool. 3 very important topics. I know you wanted to touch a little bit on gluten.
Oh, yes.
You talked to us about gluten. It's very trendy right now.
It is, and for good reason. Gluten is one of the proteins in certain grains like wheat and barley and rye.
Yes.
And spelt.
Gluten is a protein?
Gluten is a protein, and the protein is what helps to create the binding effect. So that's why it's used for baking everything, because it will expand but still hold on.
Yes.
That's why breads use higher gluten depending on the bread. One of the problems with why we're seeing so much gluten sensitivity and gluten allergies today is because somewhere in the high 90 percentile, I don't have exact numbers, of all the wheat that's produced in this country has been genetically modified. Now, what that means in a simple way is they've literally altered the genes of the wheat so that it can grow where it wasn't meant to grow, so it can handle weather that it wasn't meant to handle. They've altered it in some way, and our bodies don't recognize it. Not to mention that the gluten in it has also gone up, so it's a higher percentage of gluten. So it's a double whammy. There's more gluten in the genetically modified wheat, and it's genetically modified that we don't digest it. So, I mean, if you haven't heard of the wheat belly, that's a great place to start for reading a better understanding of this. So
Yeah.
if you have weird symptoms that we talked about earlier that you're not sure about, 2 weeks. Avoid wheat, and I like to throw in dairy just because it's a tough combination. But wheat and dairy, just 2 weeks of avoiding those two. Watch what happens. I'm throwing the gauntlet.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I took a month off of gluten just to see how I would feel, and I haven't gone back. I don't think I have an intolerance to it. Like, I think we all have some kind of intolerance to it, but I definitely found that I felt better, and my belly went down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find that. That's why I say even in 2 weeks. I got a quick 30-second story.
Yeah.
One of my very dear friends and colleagues is a baker in New Mexico. And one of the things that she can attest to is that when she has access to wheat flour that can come from Europe, she says everything that she bakes tastes differently and reacts differently. So using the wheat from flour, because they don't allow the genetically modified. At least they didn't.
Yeah.
They're starting to, but it's just totally different. So if it reacts that way in baking something, could you imagine how that's going to react in our stomach, which our stomach and digestive system is also baking it?
Right. It's like we've been making bread and we've had gluten in it for years, and then we've
almost
changed
20,000
the composition of it, and our bodies don't know
That's
what
right.
to do with it. And I think that's a lot of what's happening with a lot of things right now. We're blaming it on different things, but there's more layers to what's really going on with our food.
Yeah, I'd like to leave you listeners with a visual for this wheat thing.
Yes.
And it's also true for any of the other GMO foods. If you think of a lock and a key, our digestive system is the lock. The key is the food that's coming down. So when the food comes down and it's being broken down and digested, getting ready to be absorbed, it has to go into the lock, open the lock, and then get absorbed into the body.
Yes.
The problem is if we keep changing the keys, we know that what happens is the key doesn't fit the lock anymore. You ever heard of irritable bowel syndrome?
Yes.
Inflammatory gut response? All of these things are because the key, which is the food, keeps trying to open the lock and it's jamming in there and it's not opening it very well.
Wow, that's a great visual. I really got that. So, Mitchell, we're going to make sure that the listeners know how to reach you. Especially, I know you have the cleanses that you do that really are accessible to everybody. Like, you don't have to be somebody who already, knows how to eat healthy. Like, Mitchell, what I would say is one of your gifts is you meet people where they are, and you're able to make a difference with people wherever they are. So how can they reach you? I know there's the website healthychefdoctor.com, and then they have links on there for social media. They can also follow you. I know you share a lot of relevant, really helpful information for people. And I want to say you are saving lives. So thank you for doing what you're doing and really being somebody who has the courage to be out there to share this stuff in the kind of world that we live in. And there's more of us coming. So we're here to support each other. So thank you for being that. Is there anything else any other website or any other way that you wanted to share for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah, the Healthy Chef Doctor, either doctor spelled out or just dr.com, is under construction. We're remodeling it now with a new logo.
Wonderful.
They can also reach me at Chef Doctor, that's just SCHEFDR, chefdoctor.usana, USANA.com. So the chefdoctor.usana.com or Healthy Chef Doctor with
Good.
doctor spelled out or just DR.
Okay, so we'll have both those links on the website. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know there's a lot more we can pick in that brain, so we'll definitely have Dr. Kershner back with us here at ZNation. So
Thank
we're
you,
going
Zayna.
to yes, thank you. We're going to bring it in. Drop in. So I invite you wherever you are, if you are able to sit, if you are able to close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and feel this miracle, this miraculous body that we have, this one vehicle that moves our soul across this three-dimensional plane, allowing us to fulfill on all the things we wish to fulfill on. Today, I choose gratitude over resentment. Today, I choose happiness over anger. Today, I choose love. Love, love. Take a deep breath in. Feel the miracle of your breath. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be free. May my heart remain open to receive and to love. And may all beings everywhere be happy and be free. May all my actions, my words, my thoughts contribute to that happiness and freedom for all beings. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I honor the light in you. I honor you. Thank you for tuning in. We love you. We acknowledge that you are the bomb.com. And we'll see you again next week right here. SoFlowRadio.com. This is Zayna De Gaia, ZNation. Peace.
Broadcasting from the heart of downtown Hollywood. This is SoFlowRadio.com.